Oh my gosh, everybody. Today is one of those days with like 10,000 things happening. There is no way we're going to cover everything that we want to cover on today's show, but that's all right. We're going to get to as much of it as we can. Let's get this thing started. Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day. So, as I was saying, a lot to get to on the show. We have earnings, you know this. We have GE, probably our story of the day. We may get to, if we have time, Robinhood, Lidar names ripping here. NVIDIA, AMD, there's just so much going on. Let's bring Joel on here. Joel, good morning. My head is spinning. I can't keep up with the market. Please bring up your charts for us and let us walk through them, and then we'll bring Dennis on.
Did I miss the intro?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I miss seeing downtown Detroit. All right. Let's see here. We're down 6 handles at 46.88. We made a new all-time closing high yesterday, but we didn't make a new all-time high. So that makes your 46.94. I'm going to call that the number for the remainder of the week. Down 5 3/4 handles at 46.88 1/4. Crude up 34 cents at 82.26. Just kind of hanging out here above 82. Let's see if we can hold 82 the remainder of the session. Gold down 210, but still above 1,800. Silver stuck in the 24 handle. That's down about a dime at 24.44. Bitcoin futures up $1,570 at 68,055. Ethereum, that's up $35.75 at 48.35.5. We got to bring is Triple D ready to come on, or is he still?
I'm always ready.
He's always ready. How you doing, Dan? I feel.
I'm going to tell you, in trading, there's, and in the casino and everything, there's an edge, right? You're trying to trade the edge, and your edge might be 51%, it might be 52%. Maybe you got a kick-ass edge, and it's 60%. It's all about the edge, though. You're trying to take the edge. But on any edge, there's a random, on any given trade, there's a little bit of luck involved. It's random good luck sometimes, and it's random bad luck sometimes. We know I trade overnight. I often have 50, 100 positions overnight. Sometimes I don't have that many positions. I didn't trade much last night, so I didn't have very many positions. But I happen to be short one stock, and I want the chat to guess. Which stock do you think Dennis was short overnight? I'm already covered, so I can freely talk about it. But which stock do you think I was short overnight?
Drop your guesses in the chat. Drop your guesses in the chat.
Drop your guesses in the chat. And you can tell I'm in a bad mood kind of already, so I'm probably on the wrong side. And if Roblox would be a bad guess, because I don't take stocks usually short into earnings, it's usually going to be random news. And they're getting it now. Random news. Financial engineering hitting me in the pocketbook here this morning. I'll tell you that much, because yes, indeed, I was short General Electric overnight. Yes, indeed, I have covered General Electric already and ate my loss, because when you get hit with random news and you're short a stock overnight, what do? You eat the loss and you move on. And that is what I have done here. I came in, when I came in this morning, actually, I didn't get in here till late. It was 6:45. And I bring up I'm bringing up my quotes and bringing up everything. And I look at GE and it's up 17 points. And I'm like, did it get taken over? I'm like, what? It wasn't earnings. It wasn't on the calendar. And then I'm looking at the pro and I'm like, splitting up into 3 companies, a little financial engineering trick. It was 125 when I came in this morning. I ended up getting out at 119.5. So I ended up getting out a little bit better. It's 117 now. So I guess I should have held on more, but show the pre-market chart of GE.
I got it.
That is an explosion. It was over 125. Yeah. I guess 125. So when that big purple candle happened there, I got out on that big purple candle and moved on. But wow, That's some bad luck. Yesterday it was short Caterpillar and a bunch of infrastructure stocks. That wasn't good. Today it's GE. So it's been a tough week. It's been a tough week. And
Dennis,
people are saying you need to adjust your trading strategies. Absolutely not. So on any given thing, there's a random of luck. And if you try to start adjusting your strategies because you got a bad 2-day run, but you have a history of the strategies of working well for years, you do not adjust those strategies. You continue to do them. If it was like, if it's something else going on, it's different, but you get hit with random news, that's not bad trading. That's bad luck. So there's a big difference between bad trading, bad strategies, and bad luck. And once you're in the game for 21 years, you can decipher it pretty quickly. Am I trading bad or am I having bad luck? I actually traded G fairly well. It was 125, and I'm like, well, that's stupid. And then it came in, and I saved myself 6 points. So, only up losing 9 or whatever. You can say, oh, well, that's just, a horrible trade. It's bad luck. So in any given thing, you're going to, if you trade enough, you are going to have some good luck and some bad luck. The key to successful trading around the luck is to maximize your gains when the luck is for you and to minimize your damage when it is against you. And that's what you got to do. That's how you've got to approach it. You're going to have some good trades too. I mean, I was long Fisker overnight. I'm long Fisker in the long-term account, but I was also long it overnight. That's some good luck. It's one of my favorites. I'm 6.5% here. So I've already sold that day trading portion, but I've still got my long-term account. I didn't touch it in my long-term account. But you can see on any given trade, there's some good luck there, a little bit of good luck. You try to maximize that as much as you can. So the worst thing you can do, and this is like what we like talking about is, different strategies. The worst thing you can do is have a strategy that works like for you for the last year, and you have a bad 2 days with it and you stop doing it. Because you know what? On any given strategy, would the casino close the doors because somebody came in and hit, on the, and hit it big, on a random
slot
game?
or something.
Yeah, on a slot machine. The slot machine pays out, and they lose big time on that slot machine that day. Do they close that slot machine down? No, they keep it running, and they know if the players keep playing, eventually that edge will work in their favor. So if you have a statistical edge, you keep employing it. It's like people will say, oh, I'm having a bad trade, oh, I'm losing too much on the day I stop trading. I never do that because I'm trading statistical edges. So I keep trading that day. And a lot of days, like yesterday, for instance, I started the day down significantly. I ended up scratching yesterday. So I clawed myself out and scratched myself out of the hole. If I would have stopped trading at 7 o'clock in the morning because I had a bad overnight trade in Caterpillar and a couple infrastructure stocks, I wouldn't have got my money back. But I did get it back because I'm employing statistical edges throughout the day. Well, I'm starting a big hole today because of GE. Will I stop trading because of that? Absolutely not. I'm going to continue to employ my statistical edges and maybe starts to dig your way out. Maybe it doesn't. I mean, maybe I'm just going to have a really bad run in my 53, 55% edges. The other guy's going to hit. The other person's going to hit and hit and hit. And that can happen. But the worst thing you can do is adjust all your strategies because you had some bad luck.
And I just have to say that you're the best loser on Wall Street. I mean, there's
I don't think so.
Yeah, no,
inside, I'm like looking at that GE, and I'm like, want to shoot GE the finger. I'm like,
no,
so I don't know about
that.
No,
you can come on and talk about it, and that's just the maturation process of I mean, you started with me a long time ago, but you've just taken things just like to such a far level to to be able to do this because your first inclination is, man, I'm selling more. I'm going to sell more, and that's the wrong thing to do. You moved on, you covered it, right? Whatever, wherever it ends up today, it ends up today. But you know what? Your mental capital right now, your approach to the market it's different now. If you still had that G on, you'd be like, oh, should I put a bid out at 116?
Yeah,
yes.
You're glued to it. You're right, Joel. You're glued to it. And you're like, I can't take my eyes off it. I hope it's going to come all the way back down to flat. You think it's going flat today? Do you think it's going flat today? Do you think they could do a split the company in 3 and it's going to come back flat? It's probably highly unlikely. It could. Market can do anything. I mean, maybe it does. Maybe it comes all the way back down. I look like an idiot for covering it at 119. But, maybe I already look like an idiot for covering it at 119.
Yeah, who knows?
But it looked pretty good compared to 125. And I'm thinking some financial engineering here, 3 for 1, splitting the company into 3. Give us the news anyways.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if we gave the news.
The news is what you said. They're splitting the company into 3. They're going. It's going to end up being a renewable energy and power segment. They're going to combine that, spin that off. The healthcare segment is going to be spun off as well. And what's left is the aviation business, which will be its own separate entity. So aviation, healthcare, and renewable energy / power. Those are your three segments for GE. And it's sort of the I don't know if you want to call it the culmination, but since Larry Culp has been at the helm, what 3 years now at GE, and he's been deal making from day one. He's been spinning off assets. They did the reverse split, as you mentioned, and this is sort of like the culmination of that entire effort.
What I will say, and we'll have Kramer come on and applaud this in an hour because it's trading up and he just chases price. But what I will say, Joel, and I think you're going to agree with me here, is they seem desperate to get their stock price higher.
Reverse split?
Like a reverse split that wasn't needed. Like, why were you doing that? And they even said they wanted the stock price higher. When you split a company into three, the stock price is in the short run going to go higher. Does that equal long-term growth? Is that the right thing to do in the long term? I have no idea in the long term, and nobody knows anything. But they know in the short term, by doing this, the stock price is going to go higher. So I guess, I always thought management's supposed to be concerned with running the business and the stock price will look after itself. But in this case, I feel like GE, over the last couple of moves they've made, are more concerned about their stock price than running their business. So I want nothing to do with this long term, but I know when you split a company into three, it's going to pop up and they can trade anything. So, it's looking good on the charts. It's breaking out on the charts. You can see that technically here. You don't want to be short stocks making new highs on the move, and GE absolutely is doing that, breaking out here this morning. It wasn't before yesterday. It certainly is now. So, but I just think they're desperate to get the stock price higher. I think they need to stop worrying about the stock price and stop worrying about financial engineering and start running the businesses better.
Well,
that's what I'd like to see.
Wouldn't you be desperate if it went down for 20 years?
Well, and maybe that's the thing to do. Maybe it is. I don't know. They've done everything wrong. It used to be Honeywell and GE, and Honeywell showed you how to run a business. And obviously, at one point in time, GE was buying out Honeywell. And then that didn't get any trust. And GE has went straight down ever since. The Honeywell's went straight up ever since. So they've just done a lot of things wrong over the years. I was a GE shareholder for a long time. You were too, weren't you, Spencer? Weren't you in GE?
I wouldn't say a long time. But
I think I was 7 or 8 years in GE, and it was one of the worst stocks. Yeah. Worst stocks. I was in it from probably 2002 till maybe 10 or 12 years. And it was just a perennial underperformer. I think I actually ended up losing money over the course of 10 or 12 years. I remember justifying saying, well, I got 3% dividend every year. And I've held it for 10 years. So I only lost a little bit. So I actually was still getting paid. But really, that was just been a horrible stock for 20 years. I don't know if this 3-for-1 split or splitting up into three companies turns it around.
I'll just make a couple comments. Technically, I don't think you're getting back over 126, but anything can happen. 126.40 is your pre-market high. If I had this stock long, I'd just be laying out offers all the way up, bigger size, the higher you go. Even 124 looks like a good number. If you're looking for support, this is just 15-minute support. Doesn't mean anything. 115 is held on the last couple brackets. And then, Dennis, the one thing that is a positive is they didn't split it into 6 parts.
Never say never, Joel.
Maybe we're going to get all these companies, and maybe they're all. I mean, AT&T did that. Remember, a number of years ago, split it up, and I was long AT&T, and I got 3 companies out of it, and a big special dividend, and it seemed all good. And we got AT&T Wireless, and we got something else.
Lucent.
Something
wait,
else.
That was long.
Dennis, I'll tell you. You got Lucent. You got Avaya. Did you get
I got that too.
Did you get Bell Labs?
We got a whole plethora.
It was so hard to get out of
it.
I sold some of it. The reason, and I remember doing my taxes, and I was like, "Oh my God, what is my basis on this?" Because I think Lisa had it from her bat mitzvah or something. I don't know, but anyways,
it was given to her from her bar mitzvah.
Bat mitzvah, yeah.
She has taken too much of her time.
Yeah, let's
move
on.
Can we go to PayPal?
Yeah, we can go to pay. Yeah, you're right. It
says movers. I looked at the thing and it says movers. I was like, I got a mover. PayPal.
Yeah. PayPal. The earnings. Okay, we'll go there. Earnings last night. EPS. They beat their sales. They missed, and their guidance was not great.
Bill Big D was talking about people were saying buy this into the report. I don't know if he was listening to pre-market prep, pre-market prep plus, or at the close show, because I don't remember either of us saying that. It got the pop, it's been in the downtrend, overhead supply. People seeing this at 240 are gasping for air.
Oh my
Now you're
God.
making a new low of the move, 215.02,
Look,
214.53. What's next on my monthlies? I'm just going to go to my monthlies here, and we're below that. Oh, and we're below that, and 206.65, 207, call it if you're looking for a level. I don't know if we'll get there
we
today, but
we
more
are
people buried.
we are clearly back into the market where the strong get stronger and the weak get weaker. And the PayPal has turned, it was Pinterest that turned this entire story around when there was rumor that they were going to pay a ridiculous amount. They say no, and the market still doesn't care. And now it gets the pop. And what do we say? Stocks that are in downtrends, you sell the rip. And holy macro, did you get a rip off earnings last night? Somebody bought this up to $244 last night on the report. What a gift. It was taken away in the next candle. It was taken away 2 minutes later, down to 235, down to 230, down to 225, down to 215 now. Now you're down 15 points, and people are saying, it's so cheap. I'm buying it so cheap. Cheap stocks get cheaper in this environment. How do I know that? I've learned the hard way again and again and again. And I'll tell you, from a trading perspective, I want nothing to do with it. From a long-term investing perspective, at some point in time, maybe it's a buy, but let's wait until it gives us a point of reference. Let's wait until it gives us something. And if you're buying in a long-term account a day before earnings, it's always going to be a crapshoot. So here you are. But I'll tell you, when the stocks are leaning down and they get the pops on the earnings, those pops are met with new sellers because there's bag holders all over the place. PYPL not firing on all cylinders here now. It is now down a cool 100 points from the all-time high. So I don't know what to say. At a certain point in time, value investors will come into PayPal, but I don't know if that's today.
And well, you kind of got a little hint off the Square report too, the way Square reacted. It was all, it got the pop and the dump. The other thing too, and I don't know where you break it down in earnings and everything, but what didn't this go up with crypto? Like PayPal and Square? Weren't they like crypto stocks?
Crypto stories.
Yeah, now crypto's
really.
ripping it. Well, not any. Well, whatever relationship was there. It's going. But keep an eye on your pre-market low. I don't know what to tell you if you're long. I mean, and why does it have to be a buy? That's the thing. Like, maybe it's turned. What like the whole time on talking with people on pre-market prep plus, gotta buy Moderna. You gotta buy Moderna. This is the pullback to buy. I mean, when stocks turn like that,
It's hard to go back up.
It's so hard.
So hard.
I'm not saying you short it or whatever, but maybe we'll look back in 5 years and like PayPal and Square, like, well, who are they? I mean,
and we learn as we keep going here too. I mean, think about, from my perspective, I was like, okay, eventually Ford and GM are going to have the catch-up trade with Tesla. And maybe Ford has to a certain extent. GM has done well. But you know what the bottom line is? I probably would have just been, and when I was saying this a year ago, I probably just would have been better buying Tesla, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
You look back, and yes, Ford has had a hell of a run. But if you go back to a year ago, Tesla was 400 to 1,200. That's a triple. Yeah, Ford has almost tripled too, so it has kept up, but it was a bold call. And yes, Ford is benefiting from Rivian, which we might as well talk about right now because they just took us there and we're talking
Might
Ubers.
as well.
I mean, Ford is obviously, I'm still long my Ford, bought it at $7 a year ago. Still a believer that obviously the F-150 is going to be a huge seller for them. We can't even get normal pickup trucks there, and they literally can't. You go in there and you can't get a truck because of the chip problem. I think it's huge. Is it overdone now? Because in the short term, because we got the Rivian stake, they're now jacking it on every time Rivian gets a positive headline. Ford gets jacked up because they do have a stake in Rivian. I think it's overbought short term. I think it needs a pullback here now. I'm not selling my Ford, but I wouldn't be chasing it at this point in time.
I mean, it's just got the momentum. I mean, there's, you're standing, about 20, made quick work at 20, is trading huge volume. The only thing I'll say about Ford today is, and this is not, it's not a perfect formula. the pre-market highs turns out to be pretty good numbers because people, just for a potential resistance area, yeah, maybe it could rip the 21, but there's so much stock that has to be moved in something like Ford that in the way it trades is like if they want to sell 2,784,000 shares at 2080, they're not going to be afraid, they're not going to be afraid to put it out there. I mean, they know maybe they actually want to sell it at 2060 or better. So just keep an eye, pre-market high, 2080. That's where you stand. And then, of course, support wherever unchanged is 57 minus 42. What's that? 15. So that's what I'm looking. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at in Ford. Letter F.
Yeah, my thought was, are we going to look back in a week or two and three and think, oh, that Rivian IPO, yeah, that was the top. I think
they've sold 156 trucks, not 156,000, 156 total. It's going to have the market cap of General Motors. We're in crazy town, but I mean, stuff, they're going to grow, and maybe it is going to be the number one truck seller of EV trucks in the future. Ford believes them; they have the stake, but you got to know what you're paying for to a certain extent. It's not for me.
Shout out to Luke Jacoby. Ford was his pick of the year back in January.
You must listen to pre-market prep.
He's got,
because we was our pick in October.
He's got a lot of call options. Good for him. Luke Jacoby, you nailed this
job,
one,
Luke.
So congrats to you. It's 8:21. We're gonna have our guest on in around 15 minutes. Dave LaValle. He's the global head of ETFs at Grayscale. So we're talking Bitcoin ETFs in about 15 minutes or so. Smash a like for us. You want to talk Roblox / Unity right now?
Sure.
I say we do, because Roblox is your one of your big gainers of the morning here. Earnings last night, EPS, we don't really care, but it did beat sales. Again, not really comparable. Daily active users up 31% year over year. Think about that for a second, right? We're talking about the reopening trade and everyone going back to living their lives and not being glued to screens all day. Roblox DAUs up 31% from last year, peak COVID, right?
Wow. I mean, the move, and it was one that obviously not too many people anticipated, because this was going down into the report and it was weak, and basically it has gone nowhere, Roblox, for the better part of 6 months. Now you break out and you immediately, one thing to consider if you are trading stocks after hours and you got the FOMO going, bring up, your chart and at least look at where the all-time high is. At a bottom line, look where the all-time high is, because when a stock rallies $25, in all likelihood, it's going to run into trouble where the old all-time high is. And Joel, I don't think this after-hours high is a coincidence. The all-time high, 103.86. After hours, it did sneak up to 105. I'm going to call that within a buck when a stock's moving in crazy counts, a buck wide. I'm going to say it's stalled out right at the old all-time high. That's your target. I mean, if you got this thing and you got calls, and remember, if you're long calls, you can always short the stock. Because I get this all the time. It's like, I wish the option market was open so I could lock in my gains. Do you know how to lock in your gains when you're long calls? Use your calls for what they're used for. You can actually short the stock against those calls and lock in those gains. Because if you're long the 80 calls and you short the stock at 100 or 102, 103, you just locked in your 22-point gain. So you don't have to wait. Now the thing's 96. So remember, if you are trading options and you're long options, you can use those options for what they're worth. And you can always hedge yourself by just selling the stock short against your calls. And it's the same thing as selling your calls.
Well, it also depends what platform you're on. If you're
on a platform that doesn't allow you to do that,
right,
doesn't allow you to short stocks, you should consider maybe, if you're doing it as, if you want to get serious about your trading, you should consider a different platform then. So, I mean, a lot of short sales, and this is where we look at short interest, and a lot of times those are hedges against long calls, believe it or not. But, nobody wants to hear that. So
there's nothing in here. And the only thing I just wanted to note on this was, and I just looked in Pro. Remember they went down over the weekend? Remember that?
That was like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, no, but it's just funny. I sometimes I mark, how stocks traded that day. And
what was the news on it when it went down?
They went down. I don't know. Just went down.
Like the platform was down for like an
over
entire
the weekend.
Yeah.
You know
the
what?
Roblox platform.
Yeah.
You know what though? This is really. You talk about stay-at-home stock. We really, had this was kind of lumped in, right? Wasn't it? The gaming stocks.
That's what I'm
No,
saying. Yeah.
yeah,
Was it though? I mean, Roblox is like a kid's it's mostly
I don't
kids
know.
on there, is it not?
it's
Yeah.
expensive.
Yes, it
Who's
is.
on Roblox?
Yes, it is. You're right.
It's a little bit different animal. It's not like, okay, we can't go to work. We're, going to sit at home and, we're going to play Activision Blizzard games. I mean, I think it's kind of different. I never really put Roblox as a stay-at-home play.
Okay.
But I mean, you could say it, I guess.
You know
Maybe
what I'm
that's
gonna
why
ask?
it's showing some weakness.
You know who we haven't had on in a long time, and I know his kids have it. Bill Santiago. I remember him talking, and he was going.
Get him on the show. I didn't know his kids have it. Get him on the show.
Yep.
Hey,
Yep.
but
And it is a play on the metaverse too. So
yeah, it
I'm going to
is.
say that as well.
It is. Moving off this too is ticker Unity. Did you see that one this morning?
Yeah. And obviously it's software behind a lot of the thing behind the thing, like Jason asked. Give a shout out to Jason. He's in the chat room this morning.
Yeah, he's in the chat. I don't know what's
It's
going
been a
on.
while.
He got up early today.
He's in the chat here today. But the thing behind the thing, Unity software, is the thing behind a lot of things. I mean, Pachter was on this show. It was $89. He said, I love this company. I bought it. I sold it at 110. Again, taking my gains way too soon. It's $168. And I'm like, why did I sell that again? Well, I thought it was too much too fast. Well, it was, and it pulled back, but I didn't rebuy. It's always my problem. So
yeah, see, that's like one trick. It's just too hard to like sell it and rebuy it. I mean, I know you do it. I just
hard
prefer,
to do.
Yeah,
and that's where I mess up. I don't do it, Joel. That's my problem. I'm actually pretty good at identifying. I think it's overdone here now. And, maybe I should sell it, but then I don't get back in. And I'm like, why didn't I get back in? So you move on. You forget about it is the problem. So,
well, then you also
obviously the story is still intact. Unity software thing behind the thing, what Jason always talks about. I mean, I think the stock's going to be a $200 stock eventually. So I think on pullbacks, you got to be buying but it's run a long ways. I don't know where that pullback is. I'd like to be in.
I know what's cooled you on the buying back the stock thing. It was a biotech stock that you had and you sold, and then you bought it back. And
I just did it with Penn Gaming. That's
no,
cool.
No, it wasn't fact. No. I think you sold it like 120, and then you bought it at 95, and ended up getting taken over at 80. It was a pharma. It was a pharma.
There's been a lot of different trades.
Yeah. And you were like, I rebought it and averaged up, and then it ended up.
I hate averaging. Oh, a Celgene.
Yeah,
I hate averaging up, and so I had my cost basis on Celgene. I had bought it years ago. It was like $25, and the stock went to 150. It pulled back to 90. And I doubled down. I brought my cost basis up to 60 or something. I like the cost basis from 25 to 60. And then the stock traded actually down after that to like 50. And I was like, how did I take a 400% winner in my long-term portfolio to a loser? So anyways, eventually did get bought out by Bristol Myers, I believe. And it was, $100 a share. So I got it back. But I don't like that raising my cost basis that much. It's probably why I won't buy Apple in my long-term account anymore to raise up my cost basis, because I don't want to end up being a loser eventually. It sucks at raising up that cost basis.
Just Unity real quick on the tangent. There's someone, not major, but someone's lurking in the 170 handle. And that's not a bad number if you're looking at your all-time high 174.94. Now this is moving off someone else's news.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
just got an echo now. What happened?
It's gone now.
Okay. What are you doing there, Spencer? But pre-market high is...
We blame Spencer.
171 even.
Wait, do I sound okay?
Yeah, you sound fine.
You just got loud for a second.
He sounds fine.
Okay, sorry about that.
What about Doordash into earnings? People are asking about it. This is your classic, I believe. This is a stay-at-home stock. And maybe they're going to blow it away. I tend to think it's up $3 here this morning ahead of the earnings. We know there's alpha to extract from being long stocks ahead of earnings, although yesterday it wouldn't have worked on this one. This morning it is working. Man, I'd be very, 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 very extra nervous to hold this long into this report. After I saw Peloton, after I saw, Zoom has leaked since then. Maybe the expectations are low enough that, obviously some people are going to be thinking along my lines that, okay, well, this is going to pull a Peloton. So maybe you're going to have some people that are betting on the bearish side. Maybe that's going to help it out. Maybe Doordash makes a difference, but I'm scared to own this one long. I don't have a position, and I don't know if I got the guts to be shorted into the report, but I'd be scared if I was long. Just my opinion. But I look at that Peloton down another $5 yesterday, and I think could Doordash get Pelotoned? I don't know.
There isn't a lot of history. Sorry, Joel. There isn't a lot of earnings history on Doordash, right? But what I will tell you is this stock, if you look at it's 3 reports, right, as a public company, pretty much without exception, will just trades down after earnings.
Okay, well, maybe the trend is not your friend here.
That's what
maybe it's going to trade up.
Do they break down by restaurant? Like, do they ever see statistics like that?
No.
Because to me, someone that gets DoorDash for McDonald's, okay? I mean, it's, albeit them sneaking your fries, which I used to do with, when I used to get the kids on Saturday night, we go out, I get them the Burger King special. They'd be like, Dad, ate some of my fries. And I just, you spend I haven't been to McDonald's in 100 years, but you spend $10 at McDonald's and you're paying $2.50 to get it delivered, and it's going to be cold. I don't understand the concept. Obviously, I'm not trading it.
Do you want me to go on a 2-minute story on
DoorDash
and McDonald's?
This
just reminds me of a story. So I won't obviously say the person's name, but friend works at a mental health center. And their inmates there's some long terms that are just in there forever. And they get some apparently they get discretionary income of like $100 a month where they can just spend it on like whatever they want. And I guess this one guy at the mental health center orders like 30 Big Macs every single month, and he has them delivered like DoorDash to him in the mental health center. He sits there and just eats Big Macs for 2 days.
He doesn't give them to anybody?
What's that, Joel?
He doesn't share them with anybody?
I don't think so. I think he just I didn't know they have like discretionary income. Like obviously, you're in there, but you have it's not for everyone probably, but the way, and I'm in Ontario, I don't know if it's like that everywhere, but there's some type of discretionary income they get every month. They get like a little allowance where they can spend what they want. And every single month he orders like 30 Big Macs and just sits there and eats them all. Can you imagine?
Hey, man,
that'd be so awesome for like the first 3 Big Macs. And then he'd be sitting there and you're like, I don't know if he eats them all in one sitting or if he eats them all. I think he must eat them over the course of a couple days, but
maybe he's applying for
that's
that
amazing.
movie.
So DoorDash has a place for that person right there.
Wait,
can't very well go out and get the Big Macs himself.
Wait, this is also off topic, but did you read the article the other week about the guy that ate all his meals at Six Flags for like 2 years?
Oh,
wow.
How do you feel?
He likes Six Flags, eh?
Because he realized if you buy like an annual pass, you get 2 meals a day. And he worked right next to the park.
So he just ate the Six Flags.
He just ate the Six Flags. Anyway.
Let's get him on the show.
What was the show? The Big Mac or the McDonald's show from the guy like 15 years ago?
Yeah, Super Size Me.
Super Size Me?
Yeah. And then he made a sequel that was all about chicken.
Oh, did he? And apparently after eating McDonald's for 30 days straight for every meal, he was ready to die.
Yeah.
McDonald's didn't like that. The stock went straight up after that. So it got so much publicity. They're like, oh, this is going to be bad for it. But McDonald's was like 18. Remember that was the back in like 2002 or 2003. That was like McDonald's bottom when it got down to like $18 a share. Super Size Me was going to put McDonald's out of business. And it got so much publicity from that movie that the sales exploded. People going out there trying to eat.
All right. This is not a good show that Raz is listening to here, okay?
Raz, I think he left.
He left? Okay.
Yeah, I'm bringing us back here. I'm bringing us back. We have our guest in the studio. I'm going to bring him on right now. Dave LaValle, global head of ETFs at Grayscale Investments. I wonder what we're going to talk about with Dave. Let's bring him on here. Mr. LaValle, good morning. Welcome to PreMarket Prep.
How are you guys?
Doing fantastic. We're a little bit off the rails here, but I'm trying to bring it back. So, let's start.
No, I was listening. It was fascinating, guys. I was enjoying that. Super Size Me right into Bitcoin makes a lot of sense, right?
That's how we go. You can buy your McDonald's with Bitcoin, can't you? When is McDonald's going to start taking Bitcoin? That's what I want to know. When is McDonald's going to start accepting Bitcoin?
I don't know.
I'm
Yeah,
asking Dave.
that's what I
All
don't
right,
have an answer
let
for, guys.
Spencer take things away here.
No.
Go ahead, Spencer.
No, I just want to start with this, Dave. So explain to us, because Grayscale, you've of course got the GBTC and you've got the Ethereum and the Litecoin trust as well. Explain that you've applied to convert the GBTC into an ETF. Explain that process for us. What goes into that?
Yeah, so a lot of times when you talk about an ETF conversion, what we've seen historically is more like mutual fund conversions, and people often equate kind of the GBTC conversion similar to a mutual fund conversion. It's actually a lot simpler. It goes back to our founder of our parent company, Barry Silbert, back when GBTC was envisioned. He really had the belief that this was going to be a digital store of value, and it was something that he thought people were going to want to invest in. And as a result of that, he made the strategic decision to structure GBTC exactly like GLD, which is a well-known physical gold ETF, which is structured as a Delaware Grantor Trust. And so when he envisioned it, having that long-term view and that long-term strategic view, he structured it with the ultimate goal of actually being an ETF that looks very similar to some of the most actively traded and most successful commodity ETFs in the marketplace. So GBTC is structured as a Delaware Grantor Trust, and it has a couple of nuances that make it different than GLD. And so to really transact this conversion or to execute this conversion, a couple of things have to happen. Number one, it needs to be uplisted to the New York Stock Exchange. And the second piece is it needs to have simultaneous creations and redemption. So right now there's no redemption function for GBTC. And so once that simultaneous creation and redemption can happen, it will behave exactly the same way that GLD or SLV or IAU, some of the most actively traded commodity ETFs in the marketplace, trade. And so it's actually quite simple. It's really a matter of getting regulatory approval.
That keeps the price in line. That's such an important function there for your ETFs. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
So and you sort of hit on the key point there, which is that GBTC looks like an ETF, and some people probably just assume it is. Some people, frankly, probably don't care that it isn't because it looks like one, and some people probably very much do care about the technicality, right? So can you explain, aside from the lack of creation and redemption process that currently exists in GBTC, what are the other differences between that, versus what we know of as an ETF?
Yeah, so with all of our products, we essentially have a 4-stage life cycle to them. They start off as private placements, and after a waiting period, a regulatory waiting period, they become traded on the OTC markets. And after a period of time, they then file Form 10s and become SEC registered companies. And so that means they're kind of filing 8Ks and 10Qs and have a number of different disclosures that would equate it to an SEC reporting company. That point of becoming the SEC reporting company is really the penultimate step, with that last and final step being a conversion to an ETF. So it's interesting that oftentimes I'll be talking about Grayscale and people will assume that we list closed-end funds because these products can trade at premiums and discounts. But the reality is they're Delaware Grantor Trusts. They just haven't had that same simultaneous creation and redemption, which again is what would optimally keep the product trading in the secondary market on an exchange very closely to net asset value, and would preclude it from trading at significant premiums or discounts. And frankly, that's exactly why we have been so active in our constructive engagement with the SEC. We've been having great conversations with them for many years about our investors' desire and demand for a spot Bitcoin ETF. They want that. We're kind of acting on behalf of our investors, and we're engaging with the SEC, and obviously most recently, have put a filing in with our partners at the New York Stock Exchange to try and achieve this.
They have this in Canada. Have you looked in the Canadian markets? Is Grayscale looking to go over there as well, or have you? I don't even know if you have, because obviously we do have Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum ETFs that are on registered exchanges in Canada right now.
Yeah, we obviously pay very close attention to what's happening in the Canadian markets. Obviously, there's been some progress in the European markets as well. Those two markets are obviously markets that we pay attention to, but are really focused on the U.S. market. It's obviously where the vast majority of our assets are. And in the history of kind of the ETF market more broadly, I think there's been a tremendous amount of kind of what we would call southbound flow. When there's liquidity and when there's ticker recognition, we've found that the Canadian market comes to the U.S. market, and I think that's something that we would think would be similar with a GBTC conversion as well.
Dave, you mentioned the trading at a premium. The ETCG also trades at a premium to net asset value, and as I understand that, a pretty big one. And that's a feature, not a bug, right?
That's correct. It's just a feature of the reality of these products trading on the over-the-counter market, still being private placements. They're obviously trading in the public markets, but still have a creation function, or a subscription function without a redemption function. And so ultimately, this is a function. This is a matter of kind of supply and demand, and a fixed number of shares in the marketplace. And supply and demand will, deem whether or not this product is going to be trading at a premium or a discount. They behave like a closed-end fund in that sense, but they're not closed-end funds from a structural perspective.
We're on the line with Dave LaValle, global head of ETFs at Grayscale. Getting away from the ETFs and getting away the way the currency's trading and everything. Can you put your futuristic goggles on for me? And when the old transact, or a larger part of U.S. dollars transactions is going to be in Bitcoin, because that's the thing to me. Like, I carry my credit cards. I'm the only person that probably carries cash. I mean, eventually it has to be more transactionable. What do you see? And better yet, I know there's companies working on it. What do you see? 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? What do you see, Dave?
No, goodness, that's a tough one for me. You have an ETF guy on the line here. What I would say to answer that question is, I think Bitcoin has proven itself to be a store of value. In terms of some of the other products in the marketplace and digital assets and digital currencies in the marketplace that are really more focused on transactional function. I think Bitcoin has proven itself to be a store of value, and as a result of that, is really finding a place for an allocation in investors' portfolios as such, right alongside their gold allocations or other allocations to different asset classes. And so the reality that digital assets are now being viewed, by not only self-directed retail investors, but all the way to the largest institutions in the world. All of these investors are looking for an allocation to digital assets and digital currencies as a real asset class and as a segment to their portfolios. And so I think that's a critical component to, how this asset class is going to develop. And I think there's certainly going to be opportunities in the future for different assets or different currencies to be more transactional in nature. But certainly as we look at Bitcoin and some of the other more mature coins, it's really a matter of defining a store of value.
Dave, good question here from our chat from TJ Mosley, because you mentioned you'd have to uplist to the NYSE.
Right.
Why not the NASDAQ?
We've been a long partnership with the New York Stock Exchange.
Okay.
They've been good partners with us, through all of our regulatory conversations. It's CBOE and NASDAQ and NYSE are three listing venues that would be, national exchanges that we could contemplate our uplisting. We've had a really strong relationship with the New York Stock Exchange. Absolutely nothing against CBOE or NASDAQ or their platforms. But the New York Stock Exchange is who we've partnered with, and the New York Stock Exchange with their ARCA platform, which is their ETP listing platform, is who has submitted the 19B4 filing on our behalf.
And then I imagine you're feeling just better about this whole thing now than you were 2 months ago before we got our futures ETFs, right? Yeah. So now that we have those Bitcoin futures ETFs here in the US, I guess how do you feel about the likelihood? Because like you said, it all comes down to SEC approval here and getting them on board. So
right.
How are you feeling about that right now?
Well, look, we certainly, Chair Gensler about 3 months ago, at the Aspen conference came out and made his kind of first statement around comfort with futures being held by a 40 Act structure. And so everyone was, taken aback by those comments. But, look, the SEC has been very consistent in their messaging, and very transparent in their messaging. And so, a few firms filed for futures-based products in a 40 Act wrapper. Obviously the ProShares product was approved first. Absolute record inflows, which was fabulous to see. And then, frankly, to be honest with you, from my perspective and from the industry's perspective, the entire marketplace responded incredibly well, and that product has been trading very efficiently with tight spreads in the secondary market. Now, there's obvious differences between a futures-based product and a spot product. We certainly prefer and think that the spot-based product is a better structure. Futures-based products are inherently more complex for the asset manager to manage, and then also for investors' experience in their interest in kind of precisely tracking the underlying asset.
Yep.
But we were very deliberate in when we timed our filing, and once the SEC had approved these futures-based products, we felt like it was the perfect time for us to re-engage formally with a 19B4 filing, which would allow us to get back into a really constructive dialogue in the public forum, allowing us to engage with the SEC and the staff and to find a path forward for this spot product. Again, our investors want this. That's where the demand is. And so we're acting on behalf of our investors and really amplifying their voice. And fortunately, since that 19B4 filing has been publicly noticed, we've actually seen some positive comments where investors have come out proactively and really kind of exercised their own voice in support of this filing being approved.
So October 19th, I believe, was the filing, maybe give or take a day or two. And you've got a 75-day review window, right?
Well, it's a little bit different. So there's different types of filings with different, public kind of notice periods. So for this particular filing, it's a 45-day period.
Oh.
That 45-day period could be extended by another 45 days. Then there's another notice for proceedings, which could extend it for another 90 days, and then another 60 days after that. So
what?
So frankly, sorry to confuse. It's a 240-day, essentially comment period in 4 separate stages. So, sorry. I wish this could be a 75-day waiting period with immediate effectiveness, but that's not the structure that we're in. Part of the reason why I think there's some confusion around that is with the Bitcoin futures product in a 40 Act wrapper fell under a rule that is commonly known as the ETF rule. And that ETF rule essentially allows immediately effective filing. So you file for a product that falls under the ETF rule, also known as 6C11. And after 75-day waiting period, that product becomes effective and it can start, trading and be listed on an exchange. This particular product doesn't fall under the ETF rule and therefore requires more review by the SEC. And so there's some different timeframes and waiting periods and comment periods.
You started off saying how simple this was, but now I'm more confused than ever.
Look, guys, it's not a simple thing when you do something novel in the markets, but we're committed to it. We're excited about it. Again, we've been having a constructive dialogue with the SEC for years now. We'll continue to do so. And listen, we're sympathetic to the SEC's position right now. This is not easy stuff to deal with, but we know that we have a strong voice on behalf of our investors. We have over $40 billion that are tied to GBTC. We certainly want to see this conversion happen. Again, we want this product to be tracking the net asset value of Bitcoin very tightly. We know that if it's in a spot ETF wrapper, it will do that. And that will allow our investors to have a real true experience in their exposure to Bitcoin.
Got it. Dave LaValle is the global head of ETFs at Grayscale Investments. Dave, a pleasure to chat with you. Thank you so much for joining us today on PreMarket Prep.
This is great, guys. Thanks for having me.
And I also want to mention Grayscale will be at the Benzinga FinTech Awards today. They will be on a panel about how retail investors change the market at 4:10 p.m. BenzingaFinTechAwards.com for that. All right, we got 10 minutes left into the show. And
how did they not get the ETF? I mean, these other companies. I mean, they've been around forever. I don't know.
Well, it just hasn't been approved. So
but they were there.
Well, it's complicated because you're talking about a spot, going off of spot Bitcoin, which is not that ain't so easy. We got to talk about Lidar. We got to talk about Lidar. We got to talk about LAZR today. It is an absolute monster. What is the stock up now? Like 38% this morning. It's actually come off its highs, I think. But LAZR announced they announced that they were selected by NVIDIA for the NVIDIA Drive Hyperion autonomous vehicle reference platform. So LAZR, how high did he get this morning?
$30, right on the kisser. You're now $6 off that. So it's going to be a little bit tougher sledding now, as you've seen sellers have come in. I'd be looking for a quick target here. I'd be looking to see if it can even get to 2680. That's 260 away. Trying to find support at 24, but that's all you can say. 30 right on the kisser, pre-market high.
And then I'm just going to rip through these. EVgo, EVgo was your big gainer yesterday. They had another headline, actually two more headlines this morning, a partnership with Uber and a partnership with General Motors, and we're just Rip City here.
The EV trade is so hot right now. I don't know, like where if it's, all these things are overbought, all these things are circuses in town probably, at a certain point to ring the register, but I mean, they're in total rocket ship mode. These things can go anywhere they want here at this point in time. So maybe you're trailing up your stops. Everybody thinks when the stock goes from 10 to 18, it's going to 50. Sometimes they do. A lot of times they don't. So, you got to know why you're in it, but wow, it's a big move.
You did hit 19, but you're not, the bulls are not giving in yet. So a little support at 18 to see if we can get through 19. If you're really, really bullish and 19's not good enough target for you, your next monthly high comes in at 21.95. And Spoos had a nice rally here. Did we have some data?
I think we did. I think we did.
Kind of dovish data, it must be.
I feel like we did at 8:30. We were talking,
CPI, was it? I wrote it down. It was
PPI, Joel. PPI.
It wasn't CPI. I would have had to go wide. But we rallied. We've rallied back up. Buy the dip wins again, right? Isn't that what's the SPY? I should stop doing the herb. Just start just flat out buying the dips on SPY. I'd probably make more money.
Yep, up to 50
Buying every dip on SPY is just the trade that seems to keep on paying. I don't know when it ends, but wow.
All right. AMC is actually quiet this morning, right? After their report. A lot was said, but I think all it really matters
buzzword central. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah,
they seem to be in the business of buzzwords. I tweeted that last night.
Yeah, okay? So the numbers are that their losses narrowed dramatically. They only lost, I think, around 200 mil compared to 900 mil the year ago quarter. But then, like Dennis said, they talked about making their own cryptocurrency for some reason and accepting crypto as payments and the popcorn thing and I don't know,
NFTs. Yeah, buzzwords. They tried to hit everything. Like, I think that they looked through and they said, well, what is everybody's talking about in the stock market right now? We're going to talk about all those things on our conference call. It's ridiculous, to be honest. It's honestly just ridiculous. But the whole thing, whatever. It doesn't go down. It's holding up. The technicals are still okay. The pullback probably gets bought. The apes are showing they can control things. So props to the apes. The fundamentals make 0 sense. They're trying everything they can, obviously using buzzwords because they know that the valuation doesn't make any sense. The company knows that. I see that Nicole Kidman commercial. They obviously dropped a lot of money.
Which one, Dennis? There's like 3 of them.
Yeah, I know, because they got a lot of money. So, this is honestly unbelievable that, the market has held this stock up as long as it has. So AMC and GME, props to the traders that have been able to control price here, because I always, was under the impression that eventually, these pops on, these ridiculous moves can come back down to earth. But in this case, AMC and GME has held up very well. So the apes are showing that they're holding strong, and obviously they're getting more apes. The one thing to consider, and, the apes don't mention this, but obviously talking about the AMC apes, that we're holding. So they're of the impression that as long as we hold, the stock can't go down. But really, for the stock price to go up, you need more people buying. So it's impressive that it continues to go higher, and especially in the last week or so, because you're obviously finding more buyers in there. So I'm impressed that it's held up as long as it has. Am I coming in here and investing in AMC? No, because it doesn't make any sense. But I'm not going to argue with people who made money with it. Good job.
A lot of people, I'm sure, would like to see that close at 45.06. That was a close from yesterday. That's a few bucks away. Kind of hanging out. I mean, right now, I would keep an eye on yesterday's low at 41.77. You're still a buck above that. Sniff 42 in the after hours. So I would say apes are still in control unless you take out yesterday's low at 41.77.
And then someone in the chat mentioned AMD. We can do AMD and
Oh
NVIDIA
my
together
God,
here.
AMD.
Because
Impressive moves. The strong get stronger, the weak get weaker. It's a type of market that we are in. At one point in time, Intel and AMD were the same price. They were both $75 a share, and Intel's fallen $25 from there. AMD's doubled from that point in time. The strong get stronger, the weak get weaker. We're back in a Momo market. For a lot of 2021, we were in a contrarian market. That is not the case in the last few weeks. We have moved as traders. You have to identify when the tide has turned, when the overall market has turned. It's a Momo market. This earnings season changed it to a Momo market. So what does that mean? It means that not necessarily chasing works, but I want to be definitely buying just stocks that are, instead of just randomly buying every dip, I only want to be buying dips on stocks and uptrends right now. So because the strong get stronger and the weak get weaker. So that's how I've adjusted my trading over the course of the last few weeks. As things have changed, I was just buying every dip before and selling every rip because you're kind of in this market. But now you're in the trending market. So now you're buying, if the way I'm approaching is I'm buying dips in stocks and uptrends, and I'm selling rips on stocks and downtrends because those trends continue to persist, at least in this market that we're in the last few weeks.
Yeah, let's rip through a couple more here quick, and then we got to end the show at 9 o'clock today. Let's do, oh my gosh, we didn't even get to Panera. We didn't talk about Robinhood. Smile Direct Club is your big loser of the day. Earnings.
I got lucky in this one.
You did?
Yeah, because I had this in the long in the swing trading account when everything was getting short squeezy, and we were talking about these stocks, and I had it in that swing account. I've been looking at it, and I'm like, there's no way I'm holding this sucker through earnings. So I sold it and I almost forgot about it. Like I knew I had it, but I was trading busy, and I was like, oh yeah, I gotta sell. I wrote it down. I was like, oh yeah, I gotta sell my Smile Direct. And I sold it at 357, at 526 or something, because I was like, I don't want to hold this through earnings. I had it in there because it was one of those stocks. Some of these smaller stocks had been picking up some life as of late. And this was one that, I thought it in the last couple of weeks. I've had it for a couple of weeks in there. You can see the consolidation that I was looking at, Joel, low fives. And it actually got up. At a couple of times, I could have made some money on this thing. Went up to 577. I'd bought it around 5.25. So I basically scratched the trade. But thank goodness I sold that thing right before that report, because I had a bad feeling that wasn't going to report a great number. So lucky on that one.
Yeah, the earnings missed, the sales missed, and the guidance was extremely light. And actually the same thing for Blue Apron. Those are your big losers of the day. Smile Direct Club and Blue Apron.
Smile Direct Club, all-time low, under $4,
Never want to own stocks, all-time lows.
364. Or if you're looking to cover short, Blue Apron. You were talking about that stock ripping the other day.
Because it was.
Okay.
Blue Apron?
All right. Yeah.
When the stocks,
look at it.
Okay, it came back. I'm just saying what it's doing now. $7. I see $7. I see a low at
breaking trend. So one thing to consider: this is a stock in a clear uptrend. You're getting a dip. So what I just said, buying dips on stocks and uptrends. I'm just not 100%. I like the trend when it's breaking. So now you're losing trend. So that's the difference. If it was, like a trend down to like 9 on this, maybe, or 850, but now that it's come out with the numbers and it's breaking trend, is it earnings on it? I don't follow the story. Is it earnings on April? Yeah. So again, when you're trading something technically, you don't usually want to hold it through a fundamental report. So, just know why you're in it. If you're in it for the story, you're in it for the earnings, you're in it for the company, it's a different story. If you're in it because the chart looks good, I know JC Peretz, I think he avoids the earnings too, when he's trading. If you're just in it just for the technicals, fundamentals matter when you come to these reports. So you got to be careful, that you don't get stuck with something from technical trade and then caught from fundamental news.
All right. I know, Spencer, you got a wrap. I want to thank Irina and Brian for both going to PreMarketPrep.com and still purchasing the educational videos. And
we have a couple more people. Yeah, we have a tab there, educational videos, so you can purchase these indefinitely now, or first two. And we're going to have another event, which we're going to start advertising. December 11th, it's going to be on order execution. You know, we're talking about slippage. We're going to talk about, you know, because executing your trades, more looking at, you know, how do you, and then we're doing some tape reading, but more like when you're getting down dirty, you like the stock. Okay, now how do I buy the stock? What do I use? What type of order? How do I get in there? That's what we're going to talk about, is the execution. Because if you can reduce your slippage, you know, and get better execution, you can, some of those edges you can improve, obviously.
Yeah. And that, and also just like how to just be quicker, right? How to not spend a minute.
For sure.
How to not spend a minute on your trade ticket, right? You know?
Yeah, like, so I go, you know, and obviously Bright Trading was set up maybe a little bit faster, but if, you know, and obviously I have some automation too, but on my point and click trades, like I go basically from idea generation, you know, to execution in a lot of my trades in under 5 seconds. So I bring it up and I can buy my stock in like probably under 2 seconds, maybe under a second. I just go, if I want to go boom, boom, one click, bang, done. I go hit, boom, done. So it's really fast, like point and click.
Was that just you that just sold everything just now?
Oops.
Hey, I'm gonna hop. We missed a lot of tickers. I'm gonna hop over to PreMarketPrep.com. PreMarket Prep Plus. Join me, Spencer.
Alrighty.
See you at the close.
No,
Thanks.
no at the close today for me, Joel. I got the FinTech Awards.
Did you send me a Google Calendar invite
For the awards?
or uninvite?
I did send you an uninvite, I think.
Okay.
All right. Hey guys, we got earnings today.
I'll do it on PreMarketPrep.com.
All right. This is your calendar for today. After the close,
nice.
look, on Tuesday. Cool. We talked about Doordash, right? You got Coinbase, Fubo, Win, Unity, big names reporting tonight.
Yep.
Have them on your radar. Oh,
Yep.
crap. Disney's tomorrow? I did not know that.
Disney House of Mouse is no House of Mouse Wednesday. House of Mouse Wednesday.
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Tuesday. Holy crap!
Oh, I think I knew that, but I forgot.
Well, I'm looking at the after hours. I see multiple sessions here because I look by session. So I have the after hours session on Tuesday. You have the morning session on Wednesday. So I see it as almost 3 sessions away, even though it's tomorrow. People look at one day. I look at 3 sessions in every day: the pre-market session, the regular session, and the after hours session. There's 3 sessions in every day.
Whatever gets you through the day. All right, Dennis. Have a better rest of your day, man. All right.
Yeah,
you can turn around. If anyone can turn around, it's Dennis. Hey, we are going live right now on the Benzinga FinTech Awards. What is this, like the 7th annual Benzinga FinTech Awards? BenzingaFinTechAwards.com. It'll be right here on YouTube. This stream will end and redirect you to the actual show. Again, BenzingaFinTechAwards.com to see the whole agenda. We're spending the whole day celebrating all the innovation happening in fintech, financial services, trading, investing, crypto, NFTs, a whole day. We do this every year. It's one of the biggest days of the year for our company. And hey, if you're in New York City or in the area, check out the after party. I was not invited, but I'm not in New York. So you're invited if you're in New York. Go to BenzingaFinTechAwards.com to see how you can do that. And on that note, I'm ending this show. The Benzinga FinTech Awards are live. Please hit that like button and remember all the information on our shows for informational purposes, not for investing or trading advice. Have a great rest of your day. Let's go start the Benzinga FinTech Awards.